Let us continue with the analysis of the poem When I Have Fears. Let us take a look at the themes. Theme of fear of death. As suggested by the title, the speaker in When I Have Fears considers mortality and the possibility that death may come before the speaker has achieved all he or she hopes to in life. In particular, the speaker views death as isolating. And though creative endeavors and personal relationships can offer a momentary balm against the speaker's anxiety about dying, the speaker knows these are also the very things that will be lost in death. Ultimately, the speaker seems to accept the inevitability of death, यानी कि मृत्यु तो होके ही रहेगी, आप उसको रोक नहीं सकते. Though it is unclear if, in doing so, the speaker accepts the futility of fearing death or accepts the futility of life itself. The speaker specifically suggests that the concept of fate and the possibility that death is outside the speaker's control. When the speaker imagines tracing symbols from the sky with the magic hand of chance, this suggests, on the one hand, that if granted the opportunity, the speaker would be able to effectively trace the sky into poetry. However, these lines could also suggest that the speaker may not live long enough to trace their shadows as a result of the magic hand of chance, that is, the whims of fate. In either case, the speaker is clearly concerned with the idea of chance and struggles with the notion that the achievements of his or her life may depend on randomness. Fear of death, it seems, is intimately linked to a desire for control. The speaker also fears death's isolating nature and attempts to come to grips with the reality that he or she is alone in the face of mortality. Note how in lines 9 and 10 it becomes clear that one of the main anxieties produced by the thought of death is the possibility that the speaker may never look upon his or her beloved more. Part of the speaker's fear of death, thus, stems from the fact that he or she will lose the personal relationships that have come to give the speaker solace, means comfort, in life. Indeed, the speaker seems to view death as a particularly lonely experience. When the speaker thinks of it, he or she feels as though, on the shore of the wide world, I stand alone. The very thought of death makes the speaker feel isolated from the entire world, just as dying will literally separate the speaker from the wide world. Because death is inevitable and isolating, love and fame seem empty aspirations to the speaker. No matter how much the speaker might yearn for or find comfort in the love of others or in the possibility of fame, death will come to each person alone. Thus, love and fame to nothingness do sink. This final line can be read several ways. It may imply that the speaker realizes that love and fame are impossible because he or she will either die before attaining them, means getting them, or will attain them only to lose them in death anyways. However, the ending may also suggest that in accepting the certainty of death, the speaker actually overcomes his or her fears of losing out on love and fame by acknowledging their loss as inevitable. In such a case, the speaker may actually move beyond concerns for love and fame, realizing that there is no reason to worry about them. Theme of creativity and ambition. The speaker of When I Have Fears is not merely concerned with being dead, but with the possibility of not being alive, and therefore losing the opportunity to experience the creative possibilities of the world. In essence, the speaker seems to believe that creative and specifically poetic accomplishments are the main point of life. It is clear then that the speaker is a very ambitious person and particularly fears dying before achieving all he or she hopes to as a poet. Note how the speaker repeatedly uses the word before to frame his or her fears. The speaker fears dying before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high piled books and charactery hold like rich garners the full ripened grain. In other words, there is a specific act, namely the writing of poetry, which the speaker fears not achieving before dying. The speaker does not merely lament no longer being able to look upon the night's starred face, but not being able to trace their shadows. That is, to translate what the speaker sees in the sky into poetry. Because the central aim of the speaker's life seems to be artistic creation, it is death's prevention of this aim that the poet most fears. The speaker views his or her imagination as particularly productive and capable of achieving impressive poetic feats. Feats means uh, fulfilling difficult tasks in a way, making the potential for wasted ambition all the greater. The speaker uses language evoking fertility and fruitfulness to describe the poetic possibilities that exist in his or her mind. For example, likening a pen to a scythe that can glean the speaker's teeming brain. The speaker's brain is like farmland ready to be harvested, यानी कि धान या फसल कटने के लिए तैयार है. स्पीकर का ब्रेन भी वैसा ही है. And the speaker's pen is the device to reap the crops of the speaker's mind. The harvest metaphor continues as the speaker describes the books that he or she would write like storehouses for the ripened grain, पका हुआ धान, gleaned from his or her imagination. Death would thus cause the speaker's teeming poetic life to go to waste, like rotten fruit or untended crops. Indeed, the speaker feels quite capable of very lofty achievements. When the speaker looks into the sky, he or she beholds huge cloud symbols of a high romance. This image implies the speaker's ambitiousness